All right, so first we'll do some very quick introductions. You at the end.
Oh.
Who are you again?
Good morning, everyone. I'm a guy named Malcolm Ray. I do some acting here and there. I'm on a show called Nostalgia Critic. And also, it's a lot of fun. And
you'll get credit card.
Yeah, I'm also a freelance voice actor, and I do a lot of commercial work and other little things. Yeah.
You'll have to excuse me, I have more breakfast in me than sleep, and I ate light this morning. My name is Scott Kaiser Neko from Team 4-Star.
Does the bourbon you had count as breakfast? Does that count as the light breakfast?
Yes, in fact, that was the entirety of my breakfast, bourbon. Any of you have seen Dragon Ball Z Abridged, the guy who works on that, as well as a bunch of other stuff. I'm also a voice actor for Funimation, and if anybody has ever seen the anime for Danganronpa, I was Tanaka. So, very obscure.
What's a Tanaka?
A Tanaka Gundam.
Oh,
so, you know, those giant robots.
Oh, it's a Gundam!
Yes.
Nice.
And so, yeah, nice to be here.
Gundams.
And then we're just some other guys. I'm Timber Puppers. I did some Undertale dubs a while back. I've done a bunch of other things. Tony Cry Night, Five Nights at Freddy's. A lot of internet stuff. I did a voice for this gentleman to my left here. In the history of Trunks Abridged, I was Future Gohan. That was fun.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
And then, who are you exactly?
My name is Edward Bosco. I'm a voice actor. I'm from Chicago, so... Go Cubs. I've been in a couple video games you might have heard. Street Fighter V, I'm Ed. Killer Instinct, that was Conrad and Gargos. I was in Legend of Heroes, Trails of Cold Steel as Machias, and One Punch Man as Hammerhead. Bunch of stuff. JoJo's, if you guys watch that, I was in that, so yeah.
All right, so with that aside, we're going to open up the floor to all of you. Who wants a career in voice acting? Who's interested? I see a lot of hands. That's awesome. All right, so questions. Anything you want to ask? Let's go.
Do the voice.
You, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, so if I wanted to get started, I would have to make a choice between one of... Would you prefer a blue Yeti or blue snowball or something like that?
Blue Yeti. Do not buy a blue snowball. Please, whatever you do not ever buy a blue snowball. The blue Yeti is so much better. So much better. You get a lot more versatility out of that mic, the sound quality is better, and it's only a little bit more expensive. Frankly, the extra money is worth it for the blue Yeti. That is the best beginner mic, in my opinion.
Or something, say, from Samson.
Samson also works. The CO1U is good. The CO3U is good. There's a couple of other starting out USB mics. The AKG 120 is also pretty good. And I always like to say this to people, if you're just starting out, don't bother with an XLR mic. That's something for much later on if you decide you actually really want to get serious about doing this. That's several $100s, and please do not waste that much money on something if you're not completely sure that this is what you want to do. So start with the USB mic, start with something nice and easy.
Blue Yeti's a great starter mic.
Yeah, and the idea is really to kind of get yourself used to the whole concept, because as he said, the Blue Yeti is a very good introductory mic. So yeah, if you're new to this, and again, you're not sure you're serious about it, don't bother with the XLR. However, once you are sure that you are serious and want to do it, consider that next step, because that is the only way to do proper professional recordings.
Yeah.
And in addition to that, you'll also want to have a nice soundproofed space. There are a number of ways you can do that. Just look it up online. Me personally, I have a little home booth that is built, the frame is built out of PVC pipe, and it's draped with moving blankets, which are amazing for muffling sound. Altogether, it only cost me about $70, $80.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions? You, sir.
When starting out, would you suggest trying to audition for commercial work to be able to make yourself, or to start immediately into animation and gaming?
The answer is audition for everything. Audition for everything you can. Typically, when you're just starting out, commercial work is going to be the bulk of what you do. You know, until you become Rob Paulson, or the next Rob Paulson, for example. About 90% of what you start out on, honestly, is going to be commercials. They're not the most fun thing in the world, but they pay.
Yeah. When it comes to voiceover work, it's unfortunately very geographically centered. You have Los Angeles, Vancouver, Dallas, New York, and outside of that, there are a couple little places. But when you're talking about anime work, that's basically where you're going to want to go. But yeah, commercial work is available in most states, because nobody goes to one center hub around the country for commercial work. They usually go to local, what do you call it? Organized? Studios. So yeah, commercial work, if you, like, unless you live in one of those areas, is definitely going to be what you start out on. And it's also really great to build a, portfolio, resume, yeah.
I saw you had a question?
If, on a scale of 0 to 10, 0 being a horrible place to be, and 10 being the best, what would Chicago rank? Chicago area?
It's pretty decent.
Go for it, Malcolm. Take it.
Yeah. As a resident of Chicago, it's a decent place, specifically for commercial work. I'm with Stewart Talent, and through there they get a lot of clients from. They get a lot of clients from like McDonald's, insurance companies, a lot of local restaurant chains too. It's good. It's a good place to start for like commercial work for sure. Very rarely you'll get things for like video games. I've seen stuff for like Walking Dead come through. Some pitches for like some new animated series, like some obscure stuff. Like there was like one about a talking hot dog. I don't know if anything happened with that.
I'm all about talking hot dogs.
Yeah, but for the most part, like Chicago is actually really a really good like starting point. It's helped me like as a hub. So yeah, don't knock Chicago.
So on the scale 1 to 10.
On a scale of 1 to 10, I'd say it's a solid 7.
It's going to be mostly commercial work, though. So if you want to do cartoons in most video games, you're going to want to go to Los Angeles. That's where everything's done. That's why I had to move. I'd still be here if I could.
Yeah. Also, well, Dallas is actually not too bad for video game work. It's actually getting better and better all the time.
It's mostly Okatron and funny, though, right?
It's mostly anime.
Mostly Okatron, but yeah, I mean, it's just getting better. I get consistent video game work out there personally.
There you go.
But yeah, LA is the place you really want to get to.
Any other questions, folks? I see a hand over there.
Okay. You, sir.
So in terms of like radio and podcasting, would you say that's also a sort of good start to go from?
Yeah, sure. There are a lot of people. Podcasting is such an accessible thing nowadays. Anybody can do it. Anybody can find what you do. And honestly, yeah, it's a perfectly fine way. Oh, Malcolm?
Oh no, I'm just like looking at this mic to see if there's like a volume on it. But
Is it really quiet?
It is a little bit quiet.
It's a quiet mic. It's okay. We're voice actors.
Project.
We can project.
I guess as a follow-up.
Well, hold on. Well, go ahead. You follow up.
Was a follow-up. Do you think that it's a good medium for people to sort of find you, or do you think that it's better again to try to go out for auditions or try to go for commercials?
It's kind of difficult. Oh yeah, that is way better. Thank you. So the idea of being found / the idea of auditioning actively. Again, if this is something you're serious about, you're going to want to put yourself out there. You're going to want to look to different studios, different agencies that are looking for people like you. There are a lot of websites for that too. Voices123, Voices.com. They're pay services, but you can find work there. Don't focus on getting noticed, but at the same time, okay, so when it comes to podcasts and stuff like that, you are doing that because that's something you want to do. And if you want to use it as practice, go right ahead, but don't expect to be noticed by that. Very few people actually make their way through their own personal work. Not saying it doesn't happen, heck, that's basically what happened for me, but I've seen a lot of people try and fail.
It's rare.
Yeah. And also, proper training can do crazy things for you. I've met people who are incredibly talented but miss the basics. And I've met people who only know the basics but have a more solid foundation than people I know who have been doing it for years but never did the proper training. Just a little bit of understanding how your voice works and what you can do with it does just wonders. So definitely look to proper vocal training before you start really making that big move.
Any other questions? I see you right there, sir.
I have plenty of gear and personal time, but I live out in the middle of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
Like, where would be a good place for me to start?
That depends what you want to get into. Like, what do you...
I want to get into just voice acting. Animation would be nice, but pretty much anything.
Well, animation, I mean, the big animation hubs there's Los Angeles, there's New York, Adult Swim is down in William Street in Atlanta, but I think they're really the only big studio out there, so don't go there just to do William Street. Basically, you can't only expect to work for like one channel, one network, one studio, because they only have so much work to give you. You need to broaden out as much as possible, so you need to go to somewhere that has a lot. And really, I mean, we mentioned it before, the biggest one is Los Angeles. Living in Los Angeles is, whew, it's a doozy, let me tell you, but that's where the work is.
Yeah, and one of the biggest things that you have to remember is that for voice actors, very, very rarely is that our only job.
Yeah.
Like, you know, some people I've met in Los Angeles can do it and have been doing it, but it's tough. Especially considering how much Los Angeles can cost to live in.
Yeah, when you're just starting out, you're gonna have to have a day job. You know, whatever it is, the classic example is waiting tables, you know, whatever you have to do to make ends meet. I only recently was able to go full-time myself. It's a long, long process, but you can get there with enough work and enough hustle.
Yeah, you kind of have to make a choice on what you want to do, like career-wise. Me personally, I decided to kind of stay in Chicago for a while and build up my voice acting portfolio, but at the same time, I'm an on-camera actor, and Chicago's great for like kind of diversifying both. So you got to kind of play the field and see what is good for you, like where you could geographically live, you know, and figure out what other work you can do as well, you know.
But I should also say, like, don't just like now suddenly just like, you know, drop everything and move straight to Los Angeles. No, build up a portfolio.
Yeah,
you know,
don't do what I did.
like, you know, build up a good portfolio just doing online work. There's a lot of online work going around nowadays. Scott mentioned Voices123, Voices.com. Those are pay-per-play sites. I believe Voices.com, you can pay like $40 a month and you get a ton of auditions on that site. So, and, you know, somebody mentioned doing podcasting, doing your own work. Like, find your tools, find what you're best at before you suddenly, you know, pick up and move to a place like Los Angeles. Make sure you are ready to be competitive in that big of a market before you make that big step.
I want to break the rules and ask a question. You just mentioned the day jobs. What's the most interesting day job you had while trying to break into VO?
Ooh.
You first, Malcolm.
Sure.
Yeah, you're the one that said it.
Oh man, I've had so many different day jobs. I've worked as like I worked at a park district where I would like drive a train around, just for kids at like little events, and I would like set up like a climbing wall. I worked at like a Halloween store. I worked at Walmart. I worked at a Blockbuster.
Halloween stuff.
What's a Blockbuster?
What's up?
You mean, oh, is that like Netflix?
Oh, dude, they have those in Alaska. Yeah.
Oh, sweet.
It's like a Netflix, but with a physical location.
What?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Next you're going to tell me it's also like Gamefly.
I worked at a Circuit City.
Oh my God! How come every place you work at goes out of business? What are you doing?
It was a sign.
And the sign was clearance. Weirdest and most interesting job that I had while trying to break into voice acting. I, comedy fan, dubbed a Japanese cartoon from the 1980s.
Really?
Yeah.
What?
Dragon Ball Z Abridged, dude.
Are you serious?
That, like, here's the thing. If that doesn't count as a job, then the weirdest job I've had trying to break into voice acting was doing the census in Louisiana. Which, let me tell you, going door to door in Louisiana saying, "Hello, I'm with the government." Yeah, that's fun. That's great. I got a dog sicked on me. That was fun.
Whoa!
Yeah, the dog. Here's the thing. The
He
dog.
smelled the cat on you. That's what it is.
The dog was actually like, just like bark, bark, no bite, but still, it's weird for a dog to be like chasing you down. On a beach, no less, so I'm like, oh, my hips.
I feel like I saw that on Baywatch once. I don't know.
For me, it was when I was still living in Portland, and I got this job at a bakery. Now, I should preface this with I have a dietary allergy to white flour, but here I am in a bakery surrounded by the goddamn stuff all day. I would go home, it would be in my hair, it would be on my clothes. So what I actually had to do was I had to wear a dust mask all day so I wouldn't breathe it in, because if I breathed it in, allergy triggered! So that was a fun one. And more recently, once I moved to Los Angeles, I worked shipping and packaging in a wig store. That was fun. I was basically surrounded by creepy styrofoam heads and creepy mannequin heads all day long. It would be a perfect setting for the next Silent Hill game.
What's a wig store?
Wig.
Wig. Oh, wig.
Like
wig.
hair.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I misheard you. That makes sense.
Does it though?
Now, this guy to my right has a great one.
Yeah. So I've done a lot of consumer stuff. So I did the whole Best Buy thing, and I feel like everybody should be mandatory 6 months in some kind of like either retail or food service. You will get such an appreciation out of life, and you will start stocking for them because they have the worst jobs in the world.
You learn real quick about courtesy.
But the coolest job I ever had, and this will appeal to a lot of you, is I was a mascot. So I was Scooby-Doo at Universal. I was a 2 box trolls, and I played Darth Vader First Arcade for JonTron. So I've done a lot of work.
That is nice.
All right, let's turn it back to you folks. Any questions? I see one right there.
So, from the way this is sounding, to get yourself out there, you have to be your own self-promoter. Is that correct?
Yes,
Absolutely.
Yes. Oh my God.
100%.
You are your
self-market.
biggest advocate. You are your own Paul Heyman.
So,
Yeah, they laughed.
Ladies and gentlemen,
what would be the way to promote yourself if you are in, as this gentleman said, bumfuck nowhere?
Honestly, it's get online. I mean, Scott, you could probably talk about this, but like TFS started somewhere in the middle of bumfuck nowhere, basically. So how did that kind of start up for you, Scott? Like, what was that process like? Because you built that from the ground up, right?
I'm about to tell you a very, very rare story. So yeah, about almost 10 years ago, come next July, it'll be 10 years that I've been doing this. Me and a bunch of guys got together and started making a comedy fandom of Dragon Ball Z. The thing has lasted, again, damn near 10 years, and it was a lot of work. A lot of scripting, a lot of acting, a lot of editing. And in the meantime, we've had to, make shirts, we've had to start new business opportunities for ourselves. But that caught on with a lot of people. I'm getting work at Funimation and Okratron because of the work that I've done, as have other people on my team. And when other people come to us and say, hey, how do I either do what you do or how do I work for Team 4-Star, I always tell them, like, look, we don't accept new people. We only see people who know what to do on their own. Because otherwise, we'd have a line of people like longer than the Reg line.
That's not possible. I'm sorry, it's just not.
That was shady.
Yeah. But so, like, the long and short of it is very difficult to get noticed by companies, to get noticed by other actors. But if you can do it. It takes a lot of hard work, though. You will bust your ass. It is the hard road. But if you can do it, you can actually get some cool opportunities. I was in Battleborn as Ernest the Bombardier. And I would never have probably gotten that opportunity if it weren't for Team 4-Star, if it weren't for the thing that I made from the ground up. So I feel bad telling you or promoting that idea because it is very hard and it is very rare. But if you don't have any other opportunities, if you are in a place where it's like, I can't get to Dallas, I can't get to New York, I can't get to LA, then you know what? It might be worth it to just sit down and plan and work on something. It may take a couple of years, but if you're good enough and if you try hard enough, it's possible.
I think the big thing is you have to ask yourself, what can you offer the market that's not already out there? So like the new craze right now, like everybody knows Critical Role, right?
Oh, yeah.
So playing D&D online is kind of a big thing now, but you have to figure out, if you were going to use that for an example, how are you different than everything that's already out there? So I'm on a show called The Unexpectables right now, which is awesome, working with Taka and Chris Zito and Gaijin Goomba, and they're awesome, but they're nothing like Critical Role. It's a lot more casual, they're a lot funnier. It's just a different flavor. It's almost like you're sitting down and playing D&D at the table rather than something that's scripted or really thought out with a high production value. So it offers something different to the market. So as you're sitting there like, oh, am I just going to do a Let's Play on Twitch? I'm like, well, there's a million people that do that. What do you specifically offer that I want to watch that I can't get anywhere else? So maybe you're playing games in a giant, costume with a crazy head, and you're like, look, I'm the best Mortal Kombat player ever, and I'm doing it with paws. Woo! Yeah. Like, that's different. I'd be like, all right, I'll watch that.
And honestly, the best way to kind of get in is network. Network like crazy. Meet other people who are doing this too. Ride their coattails if you have to. And keep in mind, there's also a wrong way to get noticed. Like, don't, call a studio 10 times a day or stand outside the bedroom window of an agent going, hey, did you hear my demo reel? Like, there's a right and a wrong way to do it.
This sounds like a voice of experience.
I don't talk about that anymore.
Look, I promise.
I was in a really bad place.
He doesn't hate you anymore. He just doesn't want to see you.
Well, that's a big relief. Phew. All right, any other questions? Oh, you've been raising your hand for a while,
Wait,
sir.
hold on, not actually.
I'm sorry, Malcolm.
Well, yeah, you're going to do a lot of beating the pavement.
Like basically, you're gonna want to search for opportunities. Because I mean, the way I started out, I was just a guy looking for work, an actor looking for work, and I happened to come across the audition for demo reel for Channel Awesome. And yeah, whoever remembered demo reel?
I like the demo reel.
Oh, thank you. Well, you were the one. Thank you for watching. Yeah, and so like,
You're the one in 21.
you know, and it led to other things. But it's basically going out there because I was in school at the time I found out about the audition. You know, it's just like, you know, doing the work up front. You know, going out there, doing the training, networking, meeting people. Because like when you're in that that atmosphere around those people, like you're gonna find opportunities. It's difficult when you're out there on your own, but if you look for it, like it's gonna be worth it in the end. Yeah.
Okay, you sir.
Yeah, I just wanted to go to Dan, voice training. You talked about getting that. Where do you get that? What do you do? What do you guys want to talk about? Your experience with doing that?
Oh.
Start with you, Malcolm.
Okay, well, me living in Chicago area, it has provided me with a lot of opportunities to find training. There's like the acting studio, there's, there's Second City, and there's like different training hubs as well. I mean, Columbia offers classes, and I mean, that's where I went to, and I was surprised to find that they did have voice acting classes, because it's like, you know, primarily like a film school. And it's just, you know, doing a Google search, seeing if there's acting classes around you, you know, look at their credentials, that sort of thing. It depends on where you live, again, and how far you're willing to travel. But yeah, getting some training under your belt is very helpful.
There are a lot of classes you can take that are hosted, like there's a lot of really renowned, really well-respected people in the industry who do classes around various cities. If you do see a class, though, always do your research on the person who's running the class. Mark Evanier, whenever he does a panel, always beats this point on the head, and I couldn't agree more. There are some people who are just looking to take advantage of the, you know, the upcoming, aspiring, you know, wide-eyed youth. So make sure that the person you're taking the class from has the credentials, has the, you know, look them up, do your research on that person, because they may not be the most qualified person in the world, and they might just take all your money.
True. And some people do offer classes online, like through Skype, via Skype. It's great. Yeah, but remember, do your research.
Okay, we have time for a few more questions. You've been raising your hand for a while, sir.
So when you're going for an audition, a traditional demo reel or self-done project or both usually helps out?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Demo reel, like a good full-on demo reel professionally made is definitely something to have in your repertoire.
But I would suggest don't just rush into making a demo reel.
no.
You know, don't just go home tomorrow and, like, you know, slap something together in, you know, half an hour on your own. Make sure you know what you're good at before you make a demo reel. And the way to do that is, you know, what we've mentioned, do auditions, take classes, get a good idea of what you offer, what you can do that other people maybe can't do as well as you, and then you make that demo. That's when you really want to show your stuff. But don't just rush right into it.
By the way, one other thing that I want to say just off the bat, imitations are fun with friends. Never ever put them on your demo reel. Never present them to any of the directors that you're working with unless, you know, they're looking for something very specifically, because it happens on occasion where they're looking for a certain type of voice. But otherwise, do not present that. Do not throw that out there, because nobody wants to hear a voice from an actor they could already probably get. They want something original. They want something that has your fingerprints on it, not an imitation of somebody else.
Sometimes they do specifically ask for imitation reels, but typically speaking, you're going to want to show your character demo, which is the stuff that you do best.
Now, that being said, I'm going to throw this out there. Let's say you're like me and you suck at impressions. Every bad impression that I do is a great new character.
Yeah,
Which is just about to say, just throwing that out there.
That's how a lot of us find a completely new voice is, oh, hey, that's a really bad imitation of, say, that's a really bad Homer Simpson imitation, but it sounds like a different character. Let's work with that.
The example I always like to use is, does everybody know who Snagglepuss is? Of course. Yeah. So, Dawes Butler, that's his impression of the Cowardly Lion from Wizard of Oz. And so when you listen to it, you'll hear that, oh yeah, that's kind of like the Cowardly, but it's not really the Cowardly Lion, but it kind of is, but it's kind of not. Even good impressions, if you tweak them, like my favorite thing to do, I love Garrus from Mass Effect, so I have a pretty decent, I know I do, it's alright, I'll do it later. So I love to do that as an impression, but when I do that for an audition, I can't just do Brandon Keener, because they already have him. So you change it, like you change your inflection, or you make it deeper, you make it higher. There's so many things that you can do to take a good impression and change it so it doesn't sound like the person you're impersonating anymore.
Okay, we have time for a few more questions. I see your hand right there. You, sir.
Yes.
So you mentioned training before. My background is kind of in men's chorus in college, and I'm curious if there's any kind of overlap between that and voice acting.
Absolutely there is. You learned how to project your voice doing singing, right? That's a great skill. Learning how to project with energy, how to fill a room with your voice. That's absolutely a great skill. Look, any training you can have, whether it's improv, whether it's theater, whether it's on camera, it can all bleed into voiceover quite nicely. Especially, I would say in my opinion, I think doing choir or theater is a great transition, because I started with that. That's a great transition into voiceover.
Yeah, congratulations. You have better vocal control than some professional voice actors that I know. Because when it comes to full-on vocal training, it allows you to maintain a part of your voice. And let me tell you, that can be very difficult depending on what kind of character you're doing. Not even just voice, character. Keeping character is tough. So, yeah, no. Another thing. Silly voices are not acting. This is not going to give me a role. Being able to be emotional with it is what matters.
I thought at first you were doing like an Edwin King Candy, but then you like turned it into something completely different. When you got emotional, and I'm like, oh, this is sad now.
Yeah. By the way, I got an audition once, and they were asking for King Candy, and I came in and I
Everybody
said,
loves Edwin.
You're not looking for King Candy, you're looking for Edwin. I am not Alan Tudyk.
It's true.
And another note, actually being able to sing can really work to your advantage, because there are some character auditions, for example, where you need to be able to sing. So that is a great advantage to have.
Also rapping, if you can rap. They also like that.
All right, we have time for, let's say, 2 more questions. I saw your hand go up. You, sir, right there.
Yeah, in the hat, with the hat. Okay, in the hat.
You next.
Yeah, there's 2 hats in the line here.
Oh.
But anyway, I was wondering whether or not knowing multiple languages would be an advantage in this.
Yes. Okay, so
definitely.
I get so many auditions where they're like, so we're looking for a native blank speaker. So if you're fluent in Russian, Japanese, Spanish, Italian, literally any language that you can think of eventually comes across. German is a big one, because think about how many World War II games there are. They need people who can speak German. So if you're fluent in a second language, especially if it's exotic, because if you have an exotic language that you're like the only guy in town that does that language, they're always going to come to you. That is a huge thing. But the key is you have to be able to act no matter what language you're speaking. So that's the big thing.
Remember what we said earlier about how you need to market yourself to the things that you can do that other people can't do. You can speak German. A lot of people can't do that, so that's an advantage you have automatically.
Yep.
All right, now you in the black shirt.
Why people love D. Baker?
So I'm a Twitch affiliate streamer who specializes in like RPGs where I do all the voices and the narration.
Cool.
Just what I ended up doing.
But I stream for like 4 hours, and at the end of it, my voice is ragged.
Oh.
Oh, okay.
Is there any way to stave that off?
Yep.
There are many ways.
So this morning I was screaming all yesterday, and I had to wake up and do auditions this morning. So I have what's called throat coat in the room. Thank you, Codex, who's not here. He actually bought it, so I use one of those. It's basically an herbal remedy to coat your throat and kind of soothe it, and take some of the gravel out and just relax it. There's also, we call it Hulk juice. There's an official name for it. I'm not going to say it because it's really long and I think really Korean, and I'm going to screw it up. But it's basically a throat coat that has herbs in it that will. It tastes like cough syrup, so it's not the greatest thing in the world, but you scoop it in with some hot water, drink it like tea.
Wait, is that the really goopy stuff?
It's like Jack Powell.
It's syrup.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It doesn't taste great, but it will allow you to last longer as a voice actor because it will help protect you and put like a thin coat over your cords and all that stuff.
And another great one, honey. Tea with honey.
Honey is great.
Or just a spoonful of honey, for that matter.
Hot water and honey is amazing.
Yes, it's a lifesaver.
Yep.